For years, Bugs Bunny, Bugs Bunny. I tell you, the world, she's around. I'm a Bugs Bunny. I come out with my 2 ears and my buck teeth and my cotton tail. And I tell you, the world, she's a flag. Are you having an argument with me? I am Christopher Columbus, and I say the world is round. But she's flat. I will prove that the world is round, and I will prove that the world is flat. In French, they call it un fer round, a horseshoe. Fer, iron in your blood. And it's round. But in English, it's an angle. So you see how the languages are ready from one stupid angle? The world is round and the world is flat. The world, okay, was so tiny at one point, okay, round or flat, it was the size of nothing. In order to put anything in its place without it being pushed or forced away, you have to build an element around it. I look at the spirals in the sky. When you put 4 spirals up together, like this, you see all the space in it? They spin around each other. 2 more come on that side, or 1 more, and then kaboom. The good old Lord's got a place to put a nice little game. So he drops a game cube right in the middle of the earth, fully controlled, of course. It went down hundreds of thousands of degrees of anything, because God made it that way. The more you went up, the less you can handle. You got to the top, you couldn't handle anything anymore. Then he built a little bit and a little bit. Everybody knows when they're building something, either you use a forens, which is to build something, to put something in, something empty, an empty square where we're going to put cement. So when we blow off the walls, it looks like a big, long triangle. But then we put a bridge on it, we connect it all together, we don't actually know or remember how it actually got there. So, can I go on? Thank you. If you have to pee, go ahead. Number 2, 1? Okay. 2, 1, you're sitting down anyways. I'm going to tell you about something in Spanish. The world is just like you see it. Okay? It's just like you see it. You go see one kind of globe at a museum, and it's all round. But you go see the picture, and they show you it looks like a baseball that's been unraveled. All you need is a little earth over a square to make the whole thing go round. Does the sun turn round? The earth, the way it turns around, is because it was made to turn around. The way it's shorter wiggles at the bottom, wiggles more at the top. When you're beating or doing anything in a bowl of eggs or anything, the bottom's going to be closer together, the top's going to be more open. Otherwise, it would go right over to the top. You'd have to put in less. So they make the bowl like a stop sign. Wow, she's beautiful. So anyways, all of a sudden, God throws down his big stones. He's got some big stoners coming down. Coming down the staircase on the stones is some drafts. They look like dinosaurs. And some Mayan men. And the Hopi Indians. They're coming down too. With dinosaurs? What are you going to do with dinosaurs? They don't know Fred Flintstone. Fred Flintstone wasn't on TV yet. And God started to drop. Boom, 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 all over the world. And then he let, for many years, the pyramids rest. What does it take? 3-4 days for cement? 3-4 days for the pyramid. Filled up a little bit more earth from around the galaxies and the system. Pumped in a little bit of Neptune inside of it. All these planets that are around us are all supporting us for our survival. Whatever comes in doesn't actually have to come in. There's an outer rim to this world. God can stop anything coming in. So if you think there's an Nibiru or anything coming in, don't listen to anybody but the truth. Whatever it is, if it's there, it's there. If it's not there, it's not there. But according to the way my work goes, for me it's there. Whether it's there in the air or it's the scare on the ground of what the governments are doing right now, one way or another time it's there. If this is a tilt, a game on tilt, and God is really coming, he will come anyways. So he throws down all these pyramids all over the place. And more sand comes down. And some of the pyramids fall right near the core, on like slats or slants of some sort. because he needs to make an air passage. Or one gets to be upside down, so then he drops a pyramid over a pyramid, except the pyramid, it's got a hole in it. And then eventually it becomes a mountain. To make it slide better, he left the clay inside until it melted off because of the heat underneath. Set up the whole world. But his basic two places, okay, to remember, because East and West is hard to find. Middle East, the Baltic, and the Middle East, and the North Pole. That's his triangle. So if the Bermuda Triangle's in there, well, if you have a three-sided triangle, you got three corners. One point everybody goes to, and one on the inside. So he throws pyramid over pyramid over pyramid, and now it looks like a big volcano. When you build in the water, you fill in the ground, and now all of a sudden either it looks like, if you're dropping it from above, it looks like a perfect pyramid. If you're dropping it from the side, now it's the side of the pyramid, because you're dropping it longer. There must be a ration of food for somebody. A rationalization, creation of something that is not there, just to have another wing to extend yourself just in case you can get to that position, then it actually is true. But in between here and there, there's work to be done. And then it goes on that he dropped these pyramids, and he dropped sand, and then it became the desert. The pyramids got buried, and they buried them out there because the ins and the outs. Okay, I told you the Baltic and the Mediterranean were important. Well, there's a line goes around that passes between the two that go to the South Pole and the North Pole. Now we've chopped the earth up just like a pumpkin. Now you run a few more lines on the same area, and you have your pumpkin. So there's nothing inside that we see, but it's all of us that it is. Over the time that the pyramids and the sands of time and the heat, wind, and fire carved out the lands of time and moved on to the north. To the North America, where Columbus ended up showing up, and he certainly made the world round, and he certainly carved it flat. He's made it round as the internet goes, but it seems like everybody's taxes are all flat. 1,000 years goes by, and the reason for the amount of years I'm going to explain to you that goes by, whether it's a little less, is that if you take the pounds key of the 9 lives of the cat, it can design many things with inside of it. It's usually a square. It squares off everything that I need to do. There are 9 total positions. One is center, and as a trap is entrapment. If you draw a line following the lines around it, okay, cutting corners, you will only cut the corner of 1379, Mercury, Earth, Uranus, and Pluto. So the lion came, and Abraham came, and Adam and Eve, and everybody came, and they lived in this little area because there weren't a lot of people. Even if there were others elsewhere, I am going to leave out whether the galactic borders can come and also live here, which means there's gods and queens in other places. They have a certain realm of living. They can only make it in just like we make it in, through energy. Their energy and our energy system don't match. They will always return to their own father. Unless at the end, or in between, or somewhere, they had heart enough to love within all, then we're all the same. Over time, Noah came and he told them to take 2 by 2. 2 and 2 is 4. We're getting ready to build the 4 corners of the world now. So he dropped more pyramids down to the ground, and as he dropped the pyramids to the ground and the sands of time blew over them, creating separations and islands amongst the lands of the world, the waters came and the rains came, solidifying the placements of the pyramids and the coordinates of positions chosen by the Creator. Separations, islands moved over. Certain pyramids moved over a little bit because they weren't fully in the ground. But eventually they stabilized. And now the land was almost full. Over the years, he poured more and more. But at the beginning, before I told you those 1,000 years and years before Noah, there were the dinosaurs that were here. They were helping to move things around. I don't know what kind of dinosaur it was. I mean, God is supposed to be smart and intelligent, be able to create us, but why couldn't he create something else? Well, maybe it was something else, which is dinosaur right now. equipment and tools he used turned out to be like dinosaurs, so we threw dinosaur dust on the earth. But being here billions and billions a year, that's all a hoax. The world became round over time, and if you look in the book about the world, it doesn't even show like it's round. It looks like it's an egg, because the only way actually into this world is to roll on in. Rolling on over, rolling on over. I'm going to see if I have that. Oh, I made it go away. You know what it was? I'm going to try and show you in the picture if you can see it. This is where the egg was. This is half the egg. You know, sometimes you see the king and the queen holding a hatchet. Could be half the egg. It's a nest for half the egg. You see half the egg? See this line here and this line here and this line here? It's rolling down like this. There's lines turning above and there's one turning below so it can advance. Then it goes either this way or this way. The diamond in the rough, the pyramids of cut corners, upside down pyramids of cut corners. Okay, that's settled within time. If I put a line here and I put a line here, look at the W in between. Here's a Y over here. The army stripes, well, if you follow the line, it's an M. There's a creation inside. If it's a dot, if it's a whatever it is, if you draw one over the other one, you're going to come up with something. I also had one page, the baseball that I didn't show before. See this over here? It's a C and it's a C. Now I have to show you from this C 3 sides. So for me to choose 3 sides, I make an X, 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 I make an X. Now we have 3 sides. This is your baseball. When I put them together, it's hard to explain the baseball now because I have to finish them off in X's, not round. Look at it. Number 52 or 77 backwards. 7C, 7C. C and 7 is 10. C and 7 is 10. So from the diagrams, you also make stuff out here. 1, 2, 3, 30. 1, 2, 3, 30 is 60. The word 4 equals 60. Completely, just by letter count with every letter. Just by using the first initial with all the first 9 numbers. Just by using the first initial with all 12 seasons. Just by counting the numbers from 1 to 9 and using their initials and counting colors and using their initials and breaking them up into syllables. Don't forget, when you see an A, E, I, O, and U, the only time U is not alone, it's always with a Q. The queen had to have the U. It has 3 parts to it. It's not a big, it's not a U the other way, because the other way it's an N. 2 N's together is an actual egg. If you look at it, one has got a pipe going up, the other one's got a pipe going down. If you actually design it, you will be able to design something that you'll say, oh yeah, I've seen this before, and I can't remember everything. So the other thing I was going to show you that in Monopoly, see this X here? I separated it here, I separated it here. This is, you can go this way, but you can't go this way, because once you're going this way, you're going this way. Once you're going this way, it's this way. This is 1 way, this is 2 ways. This is 3 ways, this is 4 ways. 8, because you have directions, plus the center is 9. But you cannot do these 2, because you have to go this way. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, passage of the 7th gate. If you want to use 8, okay, now we're looking at connecting that world with that world, or just looking at one world, seeing the 2 above and the 2 below, knowing in between is the 6 of who you are. Raphael 7286. Just ask me anything. I'd like to work on anything. Oh yeah, one other thing. Spanish. Oh my God. Span, a span of a bridge, to expand. Niol, Espanol. I-O-L. Birth. I omega is a birth. L is the life. Leo, the lion. Backwards. Spread your legs. Here comes the life. Espanol. Spanish. To span. Expand. Eastbound, westbound. Eastbound and westbound. Southbound, northbound. To expand. The expansion of the roads. I'm playing with words, but another thing is, sometimes we count like this. 4 and 1. 1 owns all 4. So, oh yeah, and 10 cents, 5 cents. A nickel, K-N-I-C-L-E, a key. The key, the king's hat. The king's hat, and the N is the passage, because look at this. You just made an N right here. And at the same time you turn it, you now have the Z. But if you go in between like the car dealers do, you see in between over here? You've got the H over here. In this one over here. If you write them directly. Depends how we write, what we're looking for. If we don't give a damn about anything, we're not going to find anything. Because it's only where you look and where you try. And if you try, it means you're maybe looking. If you're not looking with your eyes, you're looking with your mind. Somebody asked me the other day the same question about homosexuality. I said, hey man, I'm going to tell you it easily so I don't get on anybody's bad side in this. This is the way it goes. Out of 100 people, God asks the same question, the same 100 people. Same question. He asks everybody 100 questions in different categories. Then he takes all the stuff and he doesn't even look at it. Okay? Then why is my movie not moving? I don't see my movie moving. Oh, now it's moving. So God takes all these papers, okay? No, he doesn't, because then he can cheat. They all go into a ballot box, all these things. All the angels throw in there. Before they did this, God had a book. I'm going to be making a park. We're going to have a tent, we're going to have fun, and here's what the park is all about. We're going to call it the ballpark. We're going to play in the diamonds, and watch out, because we don't want to skate. Skating is not good for us, but if you really skate good, you can cut anybody's throat. So watch out if you become a lawyer, politician, or just a hockey player. In the survey, how many people are going to get married? And everybody filled out the survey. How many people are going to get divorced? And God, everybody filled out the survey. And after everything was done and all the questions were asked, God comes back with the results. He tells you. Because 98% of you people rather steal than anything else, no one gets to go down because there's no place for people like that. We must have a formation. The only time we can go down when it comes to homosexuality is when we know there's going to be less than 15% of sexual people. Okay? He says 15%. He says, you want to do it again? Because 50% wanted to be homosexuals, you know. So the second ballot box comes. Perfect. 13% of homosexuals and lesbians in the world. God says, perfect, we can live that way. Because any more than that, we'd have trouble. So God lifts his hand. He says, what kind of trouble we can have? You're the God. He says, yeah, but that's your land. This land is your land, not my land. I'm going to give you everything to be able to survive and live there. You have to be able to make it sustain. So if I have a wife and kids, I can make it sustain. So that would be one good thing. And if I had a little bit of money, right, and I had kids, I can probably get my own vegetables and not have to run all over for them. And if I stay married to the same woman, maybe she can bring me back as good as comfort as I can bring her. So, okay, I'll get married. So that's what he writes in his book. But at the same time, he says, do you really want to get married? You're thinking about getting married, or you might get married. How much do you want to really think about getting married? And everybody wrote in their book, 85% of the people, 90% of people said they wanted to get married. Out of the 90% of the people that wanted to get married, 15% of them were homosexuals and lesbians. They outnumbered us in participation. 15%, the total of what it is on earth, and 15%, 100% of them voted for marriage. And now we're all getting divorced. I haven't heard any complaints from anybody yet. Just giving you an example. So when you put that, you took your claws that were in the air, because that's all you had is lobster claws, and you put it in the ballot box and you snipped it with your finger. When you filled out that ballot and you said when you wanted to come here and God finished putting it all into computers and figuring it out, don't forget the point of the Baltic and the point of the Mediterranean is south to North Pole. Santa Claus, forget about the bonhomme and the man what you go for Christmas. The name of the clause, not of the animal, was the Santa Claus. Placenta, Santa, sent us the Santa. He sent us the spirit angel of the passage of number N. Because N is 5, and 5's alive. In order in number 5 to make anything work, we must have a 0. But the only time we can get a 0 dot is when we bore a hole or bore a child with the pig nose of a pig. The nose of a pig, digging out the ground, boring a hole. What word were we on? S. Spanish. N. I had N in there. North Pole, Spanish. Santa Claus. Spirit, angel. N, passage, neutralization, N and T together. Northern Territories. Angel, transmission. The last 2 letters are the 20th and the 9th, number 29 for birth. Reverse it, it just says it. Put them together, instead of as I and X, as C and X makes I and T. Shouldn't have said that one. As the 2 letters come together, TA is 20 and 1. 21. 1 on 2, 12. The L letter, 1 part of the wing. Don't forget what I'm doing here. You can't say no. There is no no in my stuff. You only can extend what I do. You only can divide and say how come, but you can't say no. Because no is not the site. You want to go to site no, you go somewhere else. Because for me, no is on. And no is off, and he was on Noah's Ark. And until that last leaf from a birdie from up above, from the sky, came down and showed him there was dry land, that boat didn't land. And everybody's still talking about the time. Or how about Moses, when he passed through and he split the sea? Do you know why he split the sea? Because that was part of the baseball. It unwrapped like a banana. He split the sea, he unwrapped it, they walked through, and the sea roped up again and fell back over. Maybe they're all not real, but I make them to be real. The Jack of Spades and the Jack of Hearts in the cards have 1 eye. If you put the cards together and cut them out, they look like one big face. The Jack of Hearts and the Jack of Clubs each have a flower or a leaf. The cards are turning a different way because they're from a different world, or they're from the same, and we're just following up their ass. A blockade, support. When you need support, you call on W. But he's always going up and down. Another thing just to look at, I didn't do them all. Here's number 2 in the corner of a card. If you do it, it turns the other way. Second world. Here's number 3 in the card. When you turn the card upside down, it's number 3 again. When you turn it back upside down, it's number 3. But if you really cancel out this, it becomes the F, because it's F and F, it's 6 and 6. Here's number 7, only makes a triangle. Triangle on this side, triangle on this side. This one over here, if you take an actual look, this is number 4, but now it makes an X with a top on it, and a smaller triangle, and a smaller triangle. This is number 8. You can tell that it really doesn't look much different from this one when you're putting it right on the line. Because to measure, you got to put things on the line. This one over here, I can't remember what it is, but if you take a good look, it's number 10. Because I can't draw in the middle of the line. I can't draw in the middle of this line. I should have moved it over, but I had to make this bigger. In order for me to get my own 10 with my own 1 in the center of this 2, I would have had to go offline. That's why Mercury and Venus have no moons. They're offline. Because in order for me to connect them, I got to go between the lines. So that's the only time they connected, 1 and 2. Letter L, 126, FLA, California. Oh, I ain't going to follow the highways now, but I know there's a Highway 5, and they're now constructing or finished Highway 9. Ooh, Highway 9 means an introduction to something new. Every time you see a 9, it's just one short of the next. You go shopping, it says 99, and 1 penny, it says a whole dollar more. When you see 85, 58, 85, it is no good. It's a dual spirit that's running, the 3 and the 5. You either have 2 and 8, 2 and 6, or 3 and 5. 2 and 6 have no spirit at all. 3 and 5 have both. 1 and 7 do not exist in our world. They exist in the cards that created us, but on one dice they do not exist for other than being the opposition of the second dice. They could fall on either 6, which is 8, and 8, which is 6, because the odds are the same. As the 4 and 10, the odds are the same. As for 7, there's no 7 to recreate anything, so we jump to the 5. We jump to the 6. 6 and 8 are man in heaven. They're easy to do. 7 is in between. That's why we're always out. Is there anything you want to know about any game? I'll tell you. I'll put it into order, because there's more than one way to do it. When the other planet's upside down, it starts off 147. Ours is 369 on the bottom. The passage is 258 in between, and that's what we play. We play 4, 2, 6, 2, 7, 3. Because as you turn the numbers, regardless if I'm going to make a mistake, as long as I keep looking at all these games, it's the games that are telling me their laws and rules. Either they work or the game is no good. If the game never became famous, I want to take a look at it now. If the game became famous, well, I don't have to look too hard. I've had billions of people look at Monopoly. No one would have complained. But now they put boats and planes and not only railroad trains. Halloween, 10th month, 31st day, number 41. Only one time you can get the Mediterranean, right on, 41. Change in your pocket, North America, 25, 10, 5, and 1, 41. Don't forget about the nickel we broke up, because the nickel, my friends, is part of the dime. And once you put a dime together, you get a boat. You get a sailboat for Canada. The reason in the penny, it shows a leaf, because in order for us to breathe, we need to breathe from the flowers. In order to sustain life, we need the flowers to live. When the flowers can no longer sustain life, neither can man. We must live. The nickel was the beaver for living over and under the water, because in the first 9 months you're living in your mother's stomach and you're inside, you're in a big water tank. The boat is to float on the water once you get out. Now you're a whole 10, but you're nothing without the spirit. But since you're breathing, we automatically give you a penny. You're now 11 from 9. The 10 is the J letter. It also represents 1 and 0, and the 0 is water. In our life, it's the 15th letter, but it's actually Zorro, because that's where it began. 1 step left, 1 step right. I come back home. 1, 2, 3, 4. I made 4 moves. 1 to there, 1 to there, 1 to there, 1 to there. Okay. We're going to leave it at this before I go on. But remember, in Monopoly, jail and AIL is like garlic. Jail, change the J for an R. They're in the same family. You have rail. If you go to prison and you want to get out, you must place bail. Thus, if that doesn't work, not all must bail. Thus, before we went in, for us to get caught, we left a trail. So we were sent a paper in the mail. The day we came in, it was raining hail. My life was up. I was for sale. But before I knew it, the whale was fine. The hail was fine. The nail was fine. I was up on the cross. I wasn't lost. But to talk about jail and to know no better than to want to know is to want to go. You knew before life the term of this occupancy in the hotel house was from birth till death. This is an easy court system. You're in here from birth to death. Don't try to make it anywhere further, because there are those who will hold you up. And then you cause a holdup, and you're back into jail. Raphael 7286. Thank you. I appreciate it. The more you come into me, the more I can come into you. I'm still pushing the stone. I'm the only grinder. There's no more organs and the monkeys in my head. I must keep them alive. I must pay my debt to the monkey. Thus I monkey see, my monkey do. Therefore my brain is fine. The expulsion, the dehydration, to degasify yourself is to continuously let it turn over in your head. I had a thought of the day on the way home. London bridges, long, lend, bridge, fall down. In the fall time, the long will fall down. Londin, the den. The long, the den. Nol, N-O-L. Niol, Spanish. Niol, the passage. Oh my God. The passage. Because of the N. See, the N is the road. It goes up, then it goes down, and it goes up in another direction. The M goes up, it comes down. It goes up and it comes down. It's on the other side of the canal. You went up and down over the mountains. London Bridge is falling down. Has anything ever happened with London bridges? You know what I was going to do right now before I get off? I want to take a look at something. Number 14 on Monopoly from Go, Virginia. Virginia, Diana. Number 14 is the passage. From one end, number 14, take it the other way. 14 from jail is next to the railroad, Illinois, the island of the nuts. An inn, a house, a hotel. Illinois, he's in the nut. There's two nuts. He's inside one of the nuts. He must be sperm, which ends up at the end to be a pearl in her head. That's 14. Now if I go 14 from parking, I go to Pennsylvania Avenue. So I came from one parking where no one bothers me to Pennsylvania Green that has two houses on it. It looks like it's $300 and something, which that is the passage to fall on there. And one of the reasons it's a passage to fall on there is because 6 away is go, the number of men. And the payout now is 400 because you land on it. 7 away on the dice, you end up on the Mediterranean, which is a connection. And if you end up with 11, you end up on the trains, and then you're going for a ride. A ride in life. Take a ride on Pennsylvania. Take a ride on reading. Understand which Y and why. Which Y and why? Because YZY. Now, if you go 14 from go to jail, you end up on the income tax. But you can't go any from go to jail. You go right into jail. You ain't got no income tax to pay. They're paying it to you. Do you understand that? Go to jail to go 1, 2, 3, 4, income tax. But you take jail and you're right to jail, and there's no income tax to pay. You're paying it with your life. So there is no go to jail. You understand the way they set it up? Now, if I go backwards from free parking, I end up on Oriental, the Baltic. If I go backwards again, I end up on Atlantic Avenue, yellow, the beginning of the Christ image, just after B&O. Because before that, there was Illinois. You understand what I'm saying? Anyways, before I let it go, okay, there's St. James Place, and there's Park Place. Saint 39, James 4950, 66, 76, 78. The two letters of G and H. In the other one, it's 1616, and if I just take one letter and one letter of this, it's 1916, and this is 1616, the two places, which means once you're born, you come from one position to another, you're a 6, and these two places, St. James and Park Place, connect on the game. We are going to bring this to a final note, and thank you very much for being a participant in what is going to be all our lives coming in the near future, as same as it has gone yesterday and it is here today, but it will be a lot different the way I see it. Although I'm not in the realm of that world right now, I'm just following the vibes of all of those who are. Thank you. Raphael, 7286, in the constellation of Pegasus, and we run the triangle right to North Pole. Santa Claus, the clause we have on life, the fix.